is also a writer on SNL. You guys give it up for Jim Bruce.
How high is 80? Right? Am I right? Like, if this goes terrible, I'll go. People ask how was the show. I'm like, I got to see Amy. That was pretty good. Hi, everybody. Top story, so we're talking about news a little bit. I read an article. Hitler was in the news, which is impressive. Say what you will about what he did, he's still making news. Museum of Tolerance purchased an early letter by Hitler. This is true. They bought a letter by Hitler to put on display. And they bid a lot of money to get the letter. So it's like the sad version of a comic book collector. Just very excited. It's not quite as good as when you got Spider-Man. I mean, this is a Hitler letter, but still, it's the first edition. It's pretty impressive. And what they said about the letter was, in the article that I read, it said that in this particular letter, it had the first germs of ideas he had later, including like his first hints at anti-Semitism, which is just kind of peculiar. Like, I like to imagine you read the letter and it said something like, well, I don't love the Jews. And I can imagine that's what he said. The funny thing I think about, even if you talk about Hitler, you almost can't help but come across as anti-Semitic. Even just talking about Hitler, because you're like, well, you know, the Germans, they thought that the Jews controlled too much of the media and money. Hey, Hollywood, right? I also read another article where they said that they had found DNA of Hitler's, and they were studying Hitler's DNA, and they thought they had proved that he had Jewish ancestry. But I've heard that before, that Hitler was part Jewish, but the thing I always find funny about the way people say it, they always say it as if they're making a major burn on Hitler. Like, hey, take that, Hitler, you're a Jew. So the way they say it makes it sound like they suddenly agree with Hitler. Hey, take that, Hitler, you're a dirty Jew. Which I think is just kind of peculiar. The other thing that they always do, though, is they always say that he was part Jewish to prove he was a hypocrite. Just in case you were on the fence about Hitler. Okay, I don't really care for that genocide thing, but you should be able to trust the guy's word. I don't like it when a guy's a hypocrite. Another thing people do when they talk about Hitler is they'll be like Hitler trivia. People like to engage in Hitler trivia. I just know people will go, well, did you know Hitler was a vegetarian? Or Hitler was a painter? So just in case you didn't realize how boring it is if you're a painter or a vegetarian, it's only interesting if you're Hitler. Like, you have to, like, I don't want to see your painting. Oh, you're genocide? Oh, I'll take a look at your sketches. That's fine. You're a vegetarian. Ugh, God, you guys are so preachy. Oh, and you're a murderer. Okay, it kind of balances out. I myself am Jewish. A lot of people don't know that I'm Jewish because they say I don't look Jewish. I like it when people say I don't look Jewish because they're basically subconsciously being anti-Semitic. Because if you say I don't look Jewish, you're basically saying there's a way a Jew should look. If you say I don't look Jewish, you go, oh, I don't know, Jim, I don't think you could be a banker. I don't see any horns. The reason I don't look Jewish is because my father was not Jewish and my mother was not Jewish. Actually, I'm a Jew by choice. I converted to Judaism. That's absolutely true. Basically, I thought it would be great if there was one more reason to form an automatic dislike to me. That would be great. Hey, listen, I have a message for prostitutes, if I may. Listen, prostitutes, I'm a very forgiving man. If we're having sex and you don't seem like you're really into it, I get it. Maybe you're just doing this for the money. You give me chlamydia. Hey, maybe you're a workaholic. I get it. You put in the extra hours. You stabbed me. Hey, I went to a prostitute. That's probably not the worst thing that's ever happened. But how about prostitutes quit asking if you like to party? Because it's ruined the idea of partying. It's made partying dirty. Because, like, for me, if I invite you to a party, I mean pizza, I mean soda, I mean movies. I don't mean paying money for sex and crying. That's not what I mean. Oh, I'm doing that and it's fun. It's just not a party. I do think it's weird that prostitution is illegal. I think it's odd that that's an illegal activity. It made me think that maybe people don't understand what it is that prostitutes do. So I'm going to explain to you what prostitutes do. A prostitute is somebody who will have sex for money. Now, what that means is, if you have money, you get to have sex. I don't know what you thought they did, but that's awesome. Because that means if you have $200, you get to have sex, and she gets money for college, according to Craigslist. I believe Craigslist because I'm a romantic. I live in LA. I'm a unique person living in LA. I live in LA, and I like LA. I actually like LA. I'm amazed at how many people actively hate LA. How many people I hear who fucking hate LA, who will say, I hate LA, and they will say that while they're loading their U-Haul, driving to move here. Hey, you know what? You don't like LA? Fine. We don't need you. We're full. We're fine. Stay the fuck away. We're fine. The other thing people will always say about LA is they'll go, LA is full of Hollywood phonies. Well, that's true. You know why? Because we got Hollywood. Right? And that's where you want to be. Like, I'm sure there are farmer phonies. I'm sure there are. But nobody on their deathbed says, you know, I wish I would have grown corn. I didn't have the nerve. I live in LA and I have friends who are alcoholics here in LA. I think it's hard to be an alcoholic. I used to live in Chicago. I think it's much harder to be an alcoholic in Chicago, by which I mean it's much harder to qualify as an alcoholic. Like in Los Angeles, if you're an alcoholic, that might mean you like wine with dinner and get a little mouthy at plays. That's a Los Angeles alcoholic. Like if you go to a 12-step meeting in Chicago and you're like, last night was rough, I got in a fight with my brother, I punched him in the mouth, and I told my mom I never wanted to see her again. Okay, so you're Irish. Now what was that bad thing you did? Here's the thing, if you aren't drunk in Chicago, you don't understand Chicago. That's what Chicago, you should be hammered constantly. It's too cold, it's too hot. Every mailman has a mustache, and in the winter it's frozen. Quickly, let me finish up. I'll tell you about my favorite bar in Chicago, because everybody has a favorite bar. There's a bar called Friar Tuck's. And let me describe it this way. Friar Tuck's opened up in 1962. They looked around at the decorum and went, yeah, that's good forever. Yeah, we're done. Bob came in and they went, Bob, you sit here, and you'll be here when Jim starts drinking here. And when he leaves, you'll fucking stay, because you're Bob the drunk at the bar. Chicago is great. I was in more fist fights. The last thing I'll say, Chicago has a lot to be proud of. One of the things I find funny that Chicago is proud of is the Chicago hot dog. Like, people will run, and I was one of these guys who would run their trap, yeah, Chicago has the best hot dogs, they're delicious. And they are delicious. But you know who else makes a good hot dog? 7-Eleven. The movies. Pot of hot water at my house. It's a hot dog. Like, if there was ever a cooking show with a guy from Chicago, the name of the show would be, I'm Still Kind of Drunk. Guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Give it up for these guys. Who's coming back out? Oh, I got it done. Good night, everybody.